What's up, Sonic fans, and welcome to the third inaugural episode of the Sonic Movie Show, the only show that has the specific pairing of us talking about the Sonic movie coming out November 8th. This week, we're actually going to take a bit of a hard turn and actually talk about a different movie altogether. We saw Detective Pikachu, and my name is Ethan, and with me here is Devin to discuss this movie.
Meow.
That's right. We saw the trailer before Detective Pikachu for Sonic,
I was
and
hyped. I was hyped.
I'm not gonna lie to you. I actually didn't dislike it
Yeah,
as
actually
much
watching it
in
in the
that
theater.
setting.
I was gonna say watching in the theater, I like mildly got excited. I'm like, what is this feeling deep in
I'm
my
like,
heart?
and I tried thinking about it, and uh, real quick, we're not gonna discuss spoilers for Pikachu for a bit. So once we say, okay, it's spoiler time, that's when you know to pause the movie and or pause the episode or not if you haven't seen the movie yet. But I had that feeling at the beginning of the movie when they started showing Pokemon. And
Hmm.
I think what it kind of is, and I don't know if this is like you know, gamer boy, not mainstream, no one sees the cool things you see or
Yeah,
whatever.
the
A
Easter
kind of a
eggs.
pride of like, hey, this is being taken seriously. You know what I mean? Like people in this theater have to watch this seriously. I don't know if that's like the kind of feeling I felt or you felt as well when you saw the trailer. But
Well,
honestly, like
I was
it
gonna say,
wasn't as hilariously terrible
yeah,
as
actually, it
just
wasn't
watching
as
it on my
awkward.
phone.
It wasn't as awkward. Maybe it's because it's in a theater and like most trailers, I feel like are just you're just
Like we
passing the
saw the
time.
trailer for
So
the dog movie or
a
whatever,
dog's
you know what I
purpose or
mean?
whatever.
Yeah, episode
I don't know.
3,
It wasn't
Revenge of the
as
Dog.
I hate using the word cringy, but it wasn't as cringy. Or I didn't feel uncomfortable as much watching it in theater. Maybe because I'm like other people are here seeing this with me, and I think a couple people laughed, like legitimately laughed. They weren't laughing like of how bad it was. They were legitimately laughing when they did the meow joke or whatever. Like I mean, granted, there was what a family in there. I think like what they had.
Yeah, this theater was not nearly as packed out as
It was
when we
maybe
saw
20
Avengers
people in there,
Endgame.
maybe
Yeah,
20.
it was. We didn't have to get pre-tickets in any case. But when we got our tickets, they gave us those sweet Pokemon cards.
Yes, and
They
I got
gave us
that
like each two
Jigglypuff,
packs.
man. I got
Not
that
quite sure.
Jigglypuff.
I got Psyduck and Charmander.
That was cool though. I like
Um,
that was a nice touch. It kind of got me a little bit hyped. Like going in, I'm like, oh, that's cool. Didn't even like expect that to get
yeah,
anything, let
to be
alone
honest, like I
Pokemon
completely
cards.
forgot. Like, because I remember, I didn't remember until then. I'm like, oh yeah, when I saw like the first couple Pokemon movies as a kid in theaters, they gave you like a promo card
Did
of
they?
like Entei or whatever. Yeah, because I have a
Oh,
few of those. A couple still sealed.
so I guess that
Sure, they're
makes sense
worth like
then.
pennies,
So
but
to me, I didn't have the expectation going in at all. So when they gave them to me, I'm like, oh, that's cute. I
cool.
like
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, and there was like two cards in it, but and then like a couple ads for merchandise. But like I
I
don't know.
wonder if those were supposed to be for like opening night and obviously I don't know how well. I mean, I do know generally how well Detective Pikachu is doing in the box office, but I don't know how many people. Like I don't know if the theater was full. Opening night. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I wonder if this
Because
is
we didn't
for.
see it opening night, did we? We saw a few days later.
It was
Um,
Monday, so we saw. I think it came out on what Thursday, and then
that would
the
make
following
sense.
Monday.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't
So who
like
knows if that's a
Avengers. When we
thing that
saw
they're gonna keep
Avengers, they gave
doing?
us those posters, and I'm
Yeah, I
sure that
still have that
they.
sitting in my car, sitting
But
at the passenger seat.
I wonder if they're just like, hey, we'll just get rid of these, and whoever gets them
Yeah,
gets them. So,
yeah. I mean, it's just garbage, really, but
that's
it made me briefly happy.
what I'm
I have
saying. It was a nice little
huh.
touch to my movie experience.
And now they're sitting on my coffee
Do you
table.
think they'll do anything for
Oh,
Sonic though? Do you think we'll have a little
no, they
Sonic
might
rings or something?
show you some 4chan Rule 34 image of Sonic. That's probably it. Here you go, kid. Here's the Sonic experience you remember. Your nostalgia.
Enjoy the movie.
You Googled Sonic cool and it came up with a really raunchy photo. But yeah, so I want to know what your thoughts are about the Pokemon movie Detective Pikachu, non-spoilery, just as an overall, what did you think about it, both as a video game movie, as like a nostalgic thing you saw as a kid that's now like a thing people have to quote take seriously in a live action setting?
Hmm.
Give me your thoughts.
Well, I'm gonna tell you that I wasn't thinking about it at all going in, like in the way you were thinking about it. Like, oh, this is something I used to watch as a kid. I honestly was like, let me just go in. It's a Pokemon movie. I'm like, this could either be super cheesy. It could be like it'll be more for kids or whatnot. I was thinking I wasn't trying to. I wasn't going in with a very like this better be really good, or I wasn't like
Okay.
having a very like high expectation. I guess I was just like, is this is just fun? Cool. Like I'm gonna have a good time. As long as I have a good time, I'm gonna give it 10 out of 10. And I was gonna say that overall, I it exceeded my expectations. Not like I said, it
Okay.
was my expectations were low, but it exceeded them. Like I would say that I actually had a really fun time, and like I was actually thinking about it for the rest of the day. I was like, that was actually pretty fun. Like it was
Mm,
really unique. It didn't like I feel like yeah, it's Pokemon, but it was unique from like every other Pokemon thing we have out there. I know it's based off the Detective Pikachu game, which I didn't play. Don't
and
really
no
know
one
much.
did.
I don't
It's cool.
really.
They stealth released that like right before the Switch came out.
Oh,
Like,
so
oh,
it's
here's
that
this thing.
recent. I thought it was a little bit older.
No, well, so like brief history, the game came out in Japan, digital only, 3DS, Nintendo 3DS game, and it was supposed to be episodic. And so here's part one. And then I don't know what the date of when that came out, but it was a few years before 2017. I don't know if maybe even 2014 or whatever. But and it never that part never came to America. And then 2017, I think it was like a month, either a month before or after the Switch, Nintendo Switch came out on March 3rd. Um, they released episode two in Japan and then put both episodes on a cartridge and then released that in America. So we
Okay.
got, both things at once as just one game, called Detective Pikachu. And it was like, I don't know. I don't know if maybe it'd be the best time or the worst time to release a game like that, but like no one really played it until probably unless you were a big diehard Pokemon fan that actually bought the spin-offs like on a consistent basis, that bought like Pokemon Mystery Dungeon or
Pokemon
Pokemon
Snap.
Shuffle or whatever. Don't you shit on Pokemon Snap.
No, I
I
was
love
saying
that game.
like as
But
a spin-off. That's what I was saying.
yeah, yeah. I understand what you're saying.
Um, but yeah, I was gonna say.
Detective Pikachu movie, and then here's a trailer, and then people are like, I want to know what happened. It's, yeah.
Oh, you're cutting in and out a little bit here. Hold on. Are you
Can you hear
good?
me?
Yeah, I can hear you. You're like
All
cutting
right.
in and out for a second
Hmm.
there.
Must be my internet. Um, but yeah, I'm not sure if people that saw the trailer was like, oh, I'll play the game or whatever. It's based off a game, or they're just diehard Pokemon fans. But like, no one really played the video game,
Hmm.
and I think that's like how they were able to like not have like twists and turns or whatever spoiled. But
Yeah, I mean, I
yeah,
overall, I like I said, I think it was fun. I thought it was cute. Like, just like the some of the characters in it are just fun. I mean, I was trying to think. For example, like just the little stuff, like Jigglypuff singing in the. I guess that's a spoiler, but
people saw in a trailer.
okay, Jigglypuff sings at one point, and
Hmm.
it was just like, if you know what Jigglypuff does, that's cool for them, but it's also just it's cute because if you don't know anything about it, you're like, oh, that's just, it. Just was a just a cute image. I love my cute images in films, and I'll
I
say,
think I think you're on point there. I think they didn't delve too deep into specifics about what certain Pokemon do in ways that you need to know beforehand. Oh, Jigglypuff sings, and in the cartoon, always got upset that people fell asleep, so she drew on people's faces. Like they left that specific part out, but like you got the sense of like this is what this Pokemon does without needing to know like the intricacies of like everything else around
and
it.
it felt good knowing that when I was watching it, like there was some Pokemon I didn't recognize, but I didn't feel bad for it. Like I was just like, oh, that's a cool looking Pokemon, or like,
Hmm.
oh, that guy's different. I don't remember him, but whatever. Like, and I'm sure for like the general, let's say a parent that's taking their kid to this because their kid likes Pokemon, they don't care about what each Pokemon does, but like
Right. For
they
all they know,
left
they could have been made up for the movie.
the movie didn't it took like the source material and didn't and used it, but they didn't use it in a way where it's just like, hey, Easter egg, Easter egg, Easter egg, Easter egg, Easter egg. Like, hey, do you remember that? Do you remember this in the
Right.
game? Or do you
They
remember
they didn't beat you over
this
the head with
reference?
stuff.
It was
They
just,
left references and like backgrounds and stuff, but like they didn't like be like, "Oh, remember Pokemon Gold and Silver when this," like they didn't. It's just
yeah.
here's, a moment in this Pokemon world. We acknowledge, that Pokemon is a thing going on around. Here's a story. And I think that's probably the smartest way they could have introduced if they're going to do like multiple Pokemon movies like this. I think this is like the best possible starting point they could do. I think we mentioned before in a previous episode of the Sonic Movie Show that if you start off with something big, like this is the big movie about this, the main thing about Pokemon or the main thing about Sonic, and you screw it up, then you gotta wait a while before you get that shot again. But if you screw up Detective Pikachu,
They're,
you're not necessarily like
yeah.
not forbidden. That's not the term I want to use, but you're not necessarily like have to have like a waiting period before you try Pokemon Red and
You're not
Blue the
losing the
movie or
trust
whatever.
of the fanboys, I
Because you could
guess.
always throw it away as like, oh, it's a cool experiment, or like,
Yeah.
man, we learned, we
Like
started small. You know what I
like I said,
mean?
the source material wasn't that like detailed, I guess. I mean, like I said, I didn't play the game, but they just took the general idea and they're like, what if we just did this, but it's Pokemon? Like it's just in the world of Pokemon. We
Right.
don't, and they built. I mean, I feel like they built the worlds like quickly enough, and being like, hey, once again, you know what Pokemon are. That's where you're at. And they touched upon it a little bit here, and they'd be like, oh yeah, Pokemon and humans been coexisting for years. It's great, like just that. And I'm like, cool.
Hmm.
Don't need to
Yeah.
go into any more details, really. Like they could. I think they spent maybe 5 minutes on it. I feel like, and
Yeah.
you're like, yeah, I'm in the world now. Like I don't need
Yeah.
to read 20 books, or I need an hour of just world
Right.
building. You know what I
You
mean?
don't need to have played the games to understand, you know.
Yes.
Um, so
And
last
that's what I think makes it
spoiler-free
good.
thoughts
And I think
before
that's
we
what makes
delve
it good.
into just talking openly about this movie. Anything else you want to say?
All the actors were good. I liked all of them.
Hmm.
I liked my boy Justice Smith, who I realize is in the last Jurassic Park film.
I heard that too.
Ryan Reynolds did a great job, I think. I think he was literally perfect for that role. There's a couple other people in it. Ken Watanabe, he's cool. I always like Ken, so and he's gonna be in Godzilla at the end of the month too. So it's weird that he's in two movies in 1 month, so that's gonna be interesting.
Interesting.
But
Both distributed by Legendary Pictures, right?
yes, and Toho, both of them double dipping this month, so they're getting all that monies. But yeah, I liked everyone. I liked everyone in the movie. It's not really like I guess we're talking about that in terms of spoilers.
Sure. I mean, just to give my last spoiler-free thoughts, um, I really like the movie. I do think, though, if you're going in expecting like I don't want to say like Avengers level of like just awesome moments about the source material, I don't think you're gonna get
That
as
yeah,
many as you
I'd
think.
agree with
It's
that.
basically the trailers for the movie for 2 hours for the most part. Like we didn't not I know we're not spoiling it. We didn't really like go into places that were not shown in the trailers. So don't overhype yourself, but don't underhand yourself either because it was definitely cool. But I guess we want to be all spoilery now, right?
Yeah, let's
So this is the
spoil it.
moment. If you haven't seen Detective Pikachu and you care about finding out, you know,
The
major plot
crime.
points, I would pause,
The
stop
answer
this
to the
episode,
crime.
go see the movie. This is your last chance. He's his dad the whole time. I'm pretty sure, like, I don't know. I feel like I could tell that, the moment that they were like, oh, his dad's missing and the Pikachu is only there. It's like, yeah, it's because he's his dad. But what about you?
See, I didn't really figure that out. Maybe I just wasn't paying attention enough. I don't know. I'm usually pretty good at like picking up on like foreshadowing and the little like hints at things at the plot. And for some reason, I'm just like, it wasn't until Mewtwo changed people or turned people into Pokemon or put them into Pokemon, like combined them or whatever they did.
Mhm.
It wasn't until then I'm like, oh, I'm just like,
Yeah.
man, my mind was. I guess I was just so enamored with, uh, just the world itself. Like I said, it was they did it so simply, but yet I still was like looking around, like
It was
a lot.
believable and cool. Like
Yeah,
they set it up,
it was
you know,
fresh somehow.
when
Like even though I've
so
been in
it,
this world forever, I feel like with the Pokemon games, it felt refreshing, like to
and what
just
I
see
found
something
was
like
very
this.
cool, and they made it as an actual like story plot excuse or whatever. When Tim is on the train heading to Rhyme City, there's one of those like weird like I don't know advertisements for the place you're going or whatever. Like, oh, welcome to Rhyme
Yeah.
City. Here's things you need to know, and they talk about the dude that he's talking or whatever, and he's like, this place there are no battles. There are no Pokeballs. It's people and Pokemon together coexisting. So they really give you the excuse of like, this doesn't happen everywhere, but in
Hmm.
this one place, this is where you can go to just not be attacked by Pokemon. That because I would assume most of them, they're wild in
Wild
the sense that
animals, almost.
they don't
Yeah.
have trainers, they don't have owners, but they're not like gonna, you're not gonna walk across the street and have a champ just like murder you. You know what I mean? Like,
They're kind of like I imagine what would be like a wild cat, like a stray cat. Like that's the danger of most of them at the
it's like, yeah,
very
just don't,
peak.
poke the Apom with a stick, and
Yeah.
you'll be fine.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't piss Snorlax off. But I would like to say like this movie had a few moments that made the audience that we had, including us. I feel like you did this too. Not necessarily gasp like, but like do like oh shit moments. And I
Yeah.
feel like the very first one was one that I don't think anyone would have expected. They're showing the Legendary Pictures logo. They're showing the Warner Brothers logo. Then they show like the Earth, and it spins around and it turns into a Pokeball, and it's like this badass the Pokemon Company logo. And we were like, oh, cool. This is cool. Like we're in for
Yeah.
something that's cool. you know, I legitimately didn't think that a,
Have they ever
a, a
did?
movie studio
I
logo.
don't think they ever
That
had like a movie studio logo like that.
no, that's brand new.
I
That's
was gonna
totally
say
for this
it
movie.
looks fresh.
Oh, because I don't know if you've ever seen. I don't know if you ever gone to a movie theater before the trailers play and seen like where they're actually playing ads for stuff on there.
Yeah.
And they've done like Pokemon card ads or Pokemon game ads, and it's always this really broke ass Pokemon Company logo with a very bad CG Pikachu, like the quality of it, and him just waving or whatever. Like that's kind of just what I always just known
They threw it
from
together and they're
them,
like, this
and
works.
they made it work here. Like that was definitely the first like okay, we're gonna get something that's we're getting something here. This is a little
Yeah.
bit special. Um,
I feel like that was almost part of the world too. Like the way the colors were and this overall aesthetic was
yeah,
just it would fit with the rest of the film. I feel like from the start to the end, there was an aesthetic that they were going for, and
yeah.
that's almost like a neo noir kind of look. Like it definitely looks like they were basing it off
Blade Runner light.
almost like it wasn't like we're not going straight Blade Runner, but we're like halfway there. Like this is
Mhm.
like like if Blade Runner was at 2100 and we're at now, this looks like it's like 2050. Like we're halfway there. Uh,
Okay.
like they're slowly getting to that point, but they also I can tell that they were trying to make it also just a noir style film. Having just there's a lot like there's dark colors and there's also just very bright colors like contrast.
Mhm.
Contrast is huge in like noir films for some reason. It started off with like movies like The Third Man. It was one of the first noir films to be made. I think it was in Germany or Austria,
Okay.
but it was all like here's bright lights, but then there's just shadows like of figures and like people in the back. You don't know who the person is because there's a big shadow over their face. You don't know who it is.
Lots of bloom lighting, perhaps.
Yes. So they definitely did that. Obviously, it wasn't like the whole time it was like that because
There was daytime scenes, but
yeah,
even then, like I feel like daytime Rhyme City still felt like a bustling, place. Like it
yes,
felt like it still had that not necessarily danger, because I never really felt like danger from that city at night, but it did feel like exciting things can still happen just because the sun is out.
Yeah, well, I think it's just lots of people everywhere. Pokemon
Yeah.
too, and like they all have their own stories, and you
And
probably
you're
aren't going to run into the same
constantly
person.
looking around, and all those city shots of like, is there, is that, who's over here, what kind of Pokemon's over there,
And just
seeing
people
like,
too. Like there's people walk like going to business meetings or going to lunch, and like you'll never run into the same person like once. Kind of feel like
mhm,
almost like a New York City. So like the chances of me running into you in the street is like one in probably 10,000. For the
right.
rest of the year. So
And then combine that with, the Pokemon, like how often are you going to see a Greninja walking down the street,
mhm.
on your daily commute? You might see it once a month or whatever, like,
Yeah.
because while there was a lot of certain common Pokemon, there were some in the
Uh,
slice we saw in
like I
this
said, I saw a
movie.
couple that I'm like, I don't even know what one that is, but cool. Like it's just chilling on the light
I know
post
there
there or
was there
whatever.
was one giant like statue obelisk weird Pokemon that I know what it is, but like he had no purpose. He was just kind of standing around, and I'm like, this thing is a little menacing for just like chilling. But but yeah, do we want to just go walk ourselves through the movie, or do you want to just talk about specific
We can
instances that?
quickly walk through it, like quickly, like just do like a what was
All
the
right,
plot? I get. What do we think about the plot? Because I feel like that's one of the like. I mean, I guess that's like what the starting point is for the movie. Is they go straight to the plot, be like, "Yep, his father's missing, car wreck. That's all we really know." And then he goes to his dad's apartment to clean up. I guess I.
so
the
you went to grab his stuff.
Yeah,
You went to
but
grab his
yeah.
belongings
I'm like, is he
because there
cleaning
was
up
there is
everything or is he just grabbing his stuff?
yeah.
I don't. I
Well,
was a little confused on that, but
yeah. Well, there's an undercurrent going on, a B plot or whatever of he fell out of his
yeah,
father really early on. I didn't really get this in the movie, but I was reading later and it kind of dawns on me. So we find out his mother passed away, and the father he leaves or whatever, like right immediately, like I can't handle this or whatever, and the kid is saying to his grandmother or someone, I'm not sure, as he's a kid, as Tim is a child, saying this is supposed to be the most important day of my life. Pretty sure that's supposed to be him getting a partner Pokemon, and that's why he was so like resistant of like ever like, no, I don't need a Pokemon or whatever,
yeah.
because like I was going to get one and like the worst thing possible could happen to me. And so maybe this is a sign that it's just not for me.
I did like the
But
opening scene. I know we were talking about the plot, but I did like that opening scene because it was like, okay, what's this tone gonna be? Because you had the intro there, then like basically it's just like this Cubone just chilling in a field, and he's like, "Yo, go get that Cubone," and it's like,
yeah,
he's like, "No, not it."
fun fact about that scene. So when they were casting for his friend or whatever, I don't know if that character had a name. When they were casting for that character, they didn't want to say what the movie was, and so they described the scene. So the scene is like him trying to get Tim to catch a Pokemon, get a Pokemon, and he's throwing a Pokemon at a Cubone. The For the casting call, the scene was just described as two friends throwing a baseball at a dog.
I can see
And I
that.
guess that just, I don't know, that just seems like a totally different like context of like we're just gonna beat up this dog to like, you know what I mean? A positive instead of a negative.
His
But
friend's name was Jack.
Jack, okay, that makes sense. Um, yeah, so we get right away that like he just doesn't want, like he's got his life set. At least he's
He
outward
got
facing
got
about
his
his
career
life is
going.
fine.
He doesn't
There's
have
the
any
joke
interests.
about not becoming the senior insurance person because it's actually two steps above the promotion he's getting or whatever. But like, he's not trying to show that like he's missing something in his life or whatever. He's
Yeah,
trying to show that he's
he
happy or
has it
whatever.
all figured out. This is what he wants to do forever, basically.
Yeah. Um, does not catch that Cubone.
He doesn't.
Um, then he gets the phone call that, hey, your dad's dead. You have to come to Rhyme City. Does that happen
On
like?
his funny looking phone.
Yeah, I don't know if that was supposed to be like a Pokédex or like
Yeah,
like
it was
some just
goofy.
because like in all of the Pokemon games or whatever, when they show like gadgets that we have, or like a cell phone or something, they always look a little weird. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I just went with it. Like, yeah, he's got, a 3DS in his hand for a phone
that
or whatever
would
that
have been that would
was.
have been funnier, but that would have ruined the whole like impact of that. It was
Yeah.
just like
The
pulls out his
camera was like
3DS.
on the corner. It was like a weird bump sticking out. Like it didn't distract me from like the gravity of the scene. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Personally speaking, but it was it was
I'm like,
It's not like a
doesn't look
straight
like it
up
would fit in my pocket well.
yeah, I don't know where did he put that phone? But
Who knows?
he gets the call, you need to come to Rhyme City, your father's dead or whatever. So he gets on that train. Uh, there's the scene with the Lickitung,
That was
which
good.
apparently the Pokemon Company did not really like. They didn't really
Really.
like the fact that Lickitung would just lick random people.
I
I
loved that.
guess
That
the
was one of my
argument would be like,
favorite
when
jokes.
the
It was
tongue is
so
half
weird.
your body weight, maybe you just want to lick things. But I just was grossed out by the fact that the saliva just became gelatin on his face.
I loved it. It was so weird. I'm like, I'm gonna love this movie. As soon as that scene happened, I'm like, I'm gonna love this movie. If the humor is like this, where it's just like, it's good for like all ages because it's just kids will be like, that's gross, but like it's even grosser. I feel like, uh,
Because we've been on
just
trains.
yeah, like
We know how cleanly they are.
yeah.
That dude touched the floor with his tongue before he licked him.
And it's like, and also like how he was like, "Whose tongue is this? Why
Right.
is
Does
it
this
just
belong to
wandering,
anyone?
just wandering
Like,
around
I
licking
can't make a
people?"
scene right now because who knows? This thing might choke me with his tongue.
Yeah,
But yeah, then there's that like infomercial thing on the display on the seat, talking about how Rhyme City is this place where people and Pokemon, are can coexist. The
it's great.
director of the whole thing, he has, I don't know if it was like cerebral palsy or some
I
degenerate
was gonna talk
disorder.
about that because I was actually telling people at work like, "Oh, I really like the movie," and my one friend was like, "Oh, I don't know if I want to see it because my friends who are handicapped found it offensive."
Hmm.
And I'm like, and then that kind of like made me think, and that's why I wanted to save it. I was gonna text you that, but I'm like, oh, let me save it for the podcast because I was wondering.
Yeah, that's actually interesting.
That's an
So
interesting
like,
take.
my father's in a wheelchair, been in a wheelchair my whole life. So I would actually like to know what he thinks about it. Personally speaking, I thought it was fine. I mean, like spoilers. I guess we're already in spoiler territory, but we found out later he is the big bad, and he wanted a way to evolve himself like a Pokemon does. I assumed to get out of the restrictions that he had on him, like his
Yeah,
body had on him, to free his mind or whatever. Um,
it just
I
made me
don't know.
think about it. I'm like, I guess I could see that perspective for
I
sure.
guess it all depends on like how philosophically you view like if you I don't know. There are definitely times where like if someone has autism and we're like, oh, you could cure it or whatever, there is definitely a backlash, I don't know, that I feel personally of like, well, no, like there's nothing wrong with the person that has
Yeah,
autism. They don't need to be fixed. We just need to accept the person who they are. So I can see how someone might be like, yeah, I didn't appreciate that they treated
like oh,
the
that he needs
character
to
that
evolve
had,
to be better, that
yeah,
kind
that
of thing.
he himself. But at the same time, I guess
I never thought about it
regardless of who
while
we
watching the
are,
movie.
there's
While watching
someone
the
that
movie.
can be just like us.
Yeah,
So like it all depends. I honestly, when I saw that movie again, regular white dude, I don't have as much problems. Um, so I lack the perspective, but I didn't necessarily see. It never occurred to me that like that might be a thing.
yeah.
Um, but I don't know.
Sorry to
But
derail you again, but it's just
no,
like
you
as you
did.
said it, it
Brought up a
reminded
good
me
point.
of like that conversation. I just thought it was an interesting take, and I can definitely see that as a flaw. Maybe they could have done something where maybe they could have like did something completely different with the bad guy like needing a reason to like become Mewtwo or whatever. I could
Mhm.
not saying I'd have a good idea, but I don't know.
But well, piggybacking off of this, in that infomercial, or I'm just gonna call it an infomercial, he says, he wanted to create a world where because he was rich. Did they ever say like where his money came from? Did he like
I
profit off something or
I don't
whatever?
know. All I know
But
is he had a lot of
he
money.
wanted to create this city. I'm pretty sure the city is only 10 years old because there was that
They made it
parade that
seem
was like,
new, but not new at the
yeah.
same time. Like
But I mean,
good
like
10 or
something
15
that,
years. Oh yeah, wasn't it the 10th
yeah.
anniversary
But
parade or
of
something
what?
of the city opening?
Of the city?
I think so.
Yeah, I guess it makes sense because like his dad left to go be a detective in Rhyme City, and Tim is probably in his early 20s.
I
He
think
has a
it
job.
said, yeah, I think it said at one point on my 21st birthday or something,
That's right. He finds a card when he goes to his dad's apartment
and it said
that the
happy
dad never sent.
21st. Yeah, I think it was the
But who knows
21st.
how long ago it was? I don't. I assume it wasn't that long.
Yeah, maybe
But
let's say he's 22, 23.
because so let's keep this in our heads right now. Let's go by the anime's rules of like you turn 10, you get your partner Pokemon. 10th birthday, his mom dies and the dad leaves. Let's say shortly after that, that's when he leaves to go to Rhyme City. So I guess 10 years. I
Yeah,
guess Rhyme City would have to be brand new, but they wouldn't need cops, I guess.
yeah.
So we get introduced to this world through this, and then there's that great shot that they show in the trailer, but they expand on it more in the actual film of him walking out of the train station and seeing the city with like all these Pokemon walking around.
That
Some
was
new
cool.
ones that weren't in the trailer in that scene are in the scene, like Greninja walking around.
Mm.
Um, random Pokemon. I actually kind of appreciated that like it wasn't all just, original 151 Pokemon. There were
A mixed
random
bag.
Pokemon that were memorable. Like they didn't just pick like
It was a
I
mix.
don't know.
It was like a mixed bag, but also like you said, memorable. Like I feel like they're
Yeah.
like, what are some
Like
Pokemon
they're
that
gonna make
most
sure they
people
have
would know?
Charmander and Squirtle. But Greninja is a popular Pokemon that's new. You know what I mean? Like,
But then they threw a couple oddballs in there just to keep it
yeah.
fresh,
I
I
know one
guess.
Pokemon choice that like I don't think they should have picked because people confused it for a different Pokemon. A lot of people, I assume, saw what they thought was Tauros, the bull Pokemon, and assumed it was Tauros. It's actually not Tauros.
I was gonna say
Gen 5
I didn't know
Gen
who that
5 had
was.
a buffalo Pokemon called Bouffalant that had an afro. That's what that Pokemon was. But
Okay,
it was so similar to Tauros that it
that's what I
was
thought.
weird that they
Cause
made that Pokemon at all.
I was looking at it, I was like, that's not Tauros, but I don't know. I just gave up.
Yeah, and it's an easy thing if you didn't play Black and White 2, um, which I assume most people didn't that are Pokemon fans. You just wouldn't know. But I think overall they didn't pick like completely weird Pokemon. Like there was some that were like, okay, they showed like the panda Pokemon,
hmm
Pancham and Pangoro briefly, but like again, those are memorable designs that you're not like it's not like they picked the ice cream and the garbage
I was
Pokemon
gonna say,
or
yeah,
the collection of gears. Like yeah, like
or an
there's
unknown
the
or something weird like that.
he had an unknown t-shirt, which I thought was cool.
Oh, I didn't
But
even
like
notice that. I didn't even notice
yeah,
that.
it was the unknown for the letter O. So it was basically just a circle with an eyeball in the
Oh, that's
middle.
probably why I didn't even notice that. I probably thought it was just like, here's a cool looking shirt.
There was one Sun and Moon Pokemon, Gen 8, Gen 7. Uh, Only one of those Pokemon in it, and that was like the Hawaiian lei, the circle of flowers.
hmm
That's the only one from the Hawaii type region. Um, but I thought it was a cool mix of Pokemon. Not nearly as many as you think from watching the movie. Like looking back on like a list of all the Pokemon in the film, not nearly as many as you'd think, but like I think they did a good job of like you constantly look around and be like, oh my god, what's over there? Oh, there's an Arcanine with a couple Growliths, or here's a Trico. I thought it was cool. Um,
No, it was good.
but yeah, we
Good
get that
mix up.
city shot, and then he goes straight to the police department, right? And that's when he talks
Yes,
to
yes. 'Cause he needs to get his key. He
Yoshida.
needs to get the key for
Yeah, he just
the
needs the
home,
key.
his
He
dad's
he
home.
doesn't he doesn't need he appreciates um the nice words that he's getting, but he doesn't want to be here any longer than he needs to. This isn't his life. He just needs to collect the important things and he needs to leave. We saw Snubble, cute
Yes.
Pokemon. Uh, mean, super mean looking dog.
Yes,
But like,
like a
I don't know, like
bulldog.
yeah, like if it was your Pokemon, it would love you and you would love it, but it's not going to make friends with anyone else. That's the impression I got. Um, then he goes to the apartment, and he goes and like this is what confused me a little bit. Did because like he goes and he sees like a bedroom that's supposed to be his bedroom
I
as a
think it
child.
it was his.
Did he ever go there at all to live there at all, or
I think
was
he
it?
did because there was a flashback of him looking outside
But
the
then
window, or was that a previous
there's that
scene?
line where like when eventually when he talks to Pikachu about his room, he says like, "Yeah, my dad wanted to make my old childhood room to make me feel more at home here."
Oh,
But
you
I
know
don't
what?
know
I think
if
maybe
he ever went.
his childhood room looked like very
Looked
similar to
like that.
that, and
Yeah.
he just like, oh, he can come here, and then like it just never worked out. But like he
And
never
then he
touched it
just
because
yeah.
he never knew if he was going to come back or whatnot.
And the kid we can assume swore off a love of Pokemon, at least, materialistically after that moment when his mom died. So that's probably he probably didn't need like the binder of Pokemon cards or all those posters
Posters, yeah.
and like
The
the
Pikachu,
ears,
the
the
Pikachu bed
headboard.
frame, yeah.
Yeah. One of like most of the funny moments in this movie were in the trailers, but one of the ones where Pikachu says, "Are you going to turn me into a lampshade?" That made me laugh.
That was good. That was good.
Because
Some of the jokes in there were actually like not more adult, but just more mature jokes. I hate saying that, but
they weren't lowest common denominator. They weren't
yes,
DreamWorks jokes,
yes,
I guess.
yeah.
Um,
I think the lick of tongue joke was like one of them as well. Like I said earlier, that like the more you think about it, the more gross it is. As a kid, you're probably just like gross, but like I feel like no being on a train before and just the whole
that's had
awkwardness.
strangers,
Yeah,
maybe
it's
even a homeless person. Like there's an awkward like someone's walking past the aisle. Don't stop.
don't stop. Don't,
This Pokemon stopped.
and then
Uh,
licks me.
yeah. After his tongue touches the ground.
Yeah. But yeah, I
Well,
was
it
like,
did look like a clean train.
and didn't Pikachu make like or it wasn't Pikachu, but it was Tim when he was talking to the girl later on. Oh, I guess we'll talk about that in a second. But that one joke that he's like, yeah, I spend a lot of nights alone or
Oh,
whatever, and it was just
yeah.
like a kid's not gonna understand what that means, and there's a lot of like innuendos with that or
No,
whatever.
I think people could be like, he just doesn't have any friends, maybe.
But there was a slight like
Yeah, oh, for
s-
sure. But
sexual joke there for sure. They definitely were hinting at least how I
I
interpret
don't know,
it.
like both of them seem younger than the ages we assume they are if they have jobs.
Yeah.
But uh but anyway, so he's in his bedroom. We haven't seen Pikachu yet. He hears a noise, goes outside. That's where we get that moment from the trailer where he meets Pikachu or whatever. Oh, but before that, sorry, before he even walks into the bedroom, he's looking through files on his father's desk.
Yeah.
Um and he sees that vial that says R on it, that purple gas, and he inhales it. And this is what makes him think that he can hear Pikachu. At least that's how I understood
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's just the fact that it's his dad in there, and Mewtwo probably had some sort of like connection. You know what I mean? Because he specifically called him out to find the son of Ryan Reynolds. But so he gets the vial. Actually, before all this, that's when he sees the girl. What's her name again? I probably should have looked this up.
Hold on.
Um,
I got a list.
but yeah, he gets right because he goes into the apartment building.
Lucy Stevens.
Lucy Stevens. That's when he gets the mail. Well, he actually didn't get the mail. He had a lot of packages. Like I would have been excited, but
All Amazon
that's when
Prime.
he sees the girl. That's one of the few jokes that again, like I feel like I don't want to say there are adult jokes or whatever, but she's like, "What do you do?" or whatever, and she basically says like, "I write listicles." And basically, she's just BuzzFeed for CNM. I don't know what CNM stood for,
I don't know if they ever said.
but
It's probably
and the unpaid intern, like that's enough like of a relatable enough joke of like, yeah, you're just here to get coffee and we're not going to pay you, and
what's the
like it's
name
a
of the
relatable
city?
thing.
What's the name of the city again?
Rhyme City.
Never mind. was trying to think of like what was the
Like almost
acronym?
none of those letters are.
Yeah, I was gonna say that doesn't work.
Yeah. Who cares? Maybe it's named after one of them.
And all the
Although the,
APOMs
the dude's name
got
was
inhaled
Pollard.
that smoke too. I just remembered
That's right. So he
that
he he
R.
brushes her aside. He goes upstairs. Looks his notes or whatever. Sees the vial. It says R. I guess in the game it's called Rage. So I'm not understand why they decided to just name it R. I don't know, but maybe they decided it was a cooler name for a drug than Rage. you know,
Well, rage
but
maybe sounds too drug like speed or
yeah,
uh,
honestly, my
crack.
thought was too kid like. What do you name a drug that kids can understand? Oh, anger, rage.
Yeah, I guess
It makes you do the thing it's named after, but
bath salts.
makes you take a bath. um, that's right. He inhales the smoke. He's like, "Oh, this is gross." He opens up a window. I think pretty like I don't know, like coincidentally, just happened to drift it over to a bunch of APOMs and made him go nuts. Um,
Who will then
Though they don't
attack?
go after him right away because
No.
that's when goes in his room, sees the letter. That's where we see the letter that had a ticket for M City, probably expired by now, unless they're just like you know
One time use.
universal. Which actually that'd be kind of cool to get that as a ticket. Like, hey, go to New York City. Whenever you can, you're getting a ticket for it. But um, finally sees Pikachu or whatever. He's freaked out. And then they get chased by the Apom. That scene was kind of boring. I don't know. It didn't seem like they were. This is the one problem that I had kind of with this movie. For
A
the
lot of
most part,
running.
a lot of like
Because there's a lot of parts where they're just like,
basic
run,
action.
run. That's the
Yeah,
action. Run.
and later in the movie when they're running outside and the Earth is terraforming, like a lot of just boring action, and like talking like after seeing this movie, my thought drifted to phase one of Marvel movies, specifically the first two Iron Man movies, where I never felt satisfied with all of the cool Iron Man action because I didn't think that they showed enough of it. And I think that's especially true with this Pokemon movie, where like you didn't really see a whole lot of like Pokemon doing the Pokemon things in ways that feel satisfying. They
Except
didn't
for the
linger on
Charizard
shots.
scene. But even then, I
It,
felt
it,
like that was over kind of
yeah,
quick.
I mean, like, and they show in one of the trailers Eevee evolving into Flareon. I never saw the Eevee. I only saw Flareon. Did you actually see the
Yeah,
Eevee?
the EV
Like, it felt
was when he
weird. Like, just show
first.
the whole thing
It's when Tim goes to bad
to see
guy
Howard.
to see
Yeah,
Howard, the bad guy. Well, we don't know that at
right.
that point, but it's when he first gets there and it's nighttime and he's like, "Yeah, I can show you what happened to your dad. He's still alive or whatever."
Mm-hmm.
But it's right when the like elevator opens and he goes in. He's like doing his monologue, and then like the Eevee evolves into the Flareon,
Yeah, and
and then
like, I don't know. I just like,
Ryan Reynolds is like, oh, "It's Flareon" or whatever,
right.
just
Oh,
to
that's a
remind you,
Flareon. Like, whoa.
just to
But
remind you.
like, there are moments like that where like, and I don't think it's a budget thing, but like like they spent a lot of time showing Pikachu, walking around as if there's a person inside his body, acting like a person. But they didn't show a whole lot of like, you know, even with like the Greninja, like in the trailers, they showed Greninja a lot. Like I just assumed like they were going to be a constant threat stalking them. Like I barely have a visual in my head of one of them in an action scene, and yet in later Marvel movies, I can pick out poses of Iron Man or the Hulk or whatever in my head. And I don't
Yeah,
really get that with a lot of like these action scenes because like that Apom scene, like
it might have been a budget thing. You know what I mean? It's probably easier to be like, we're just gonna have them run
yeah,
because how else
but
are they gonna fight? Like
and again,
kind of a
like
cheap
first
way to write it
Pokemon
out,
movie,
but
just like the first few Marvel movies, like I can give it a pass enough that like I'm expecting, if they make any more Pokemon cinematic universe movies, like I'm expecting full on Pokemon battles that are awesome. You know what I mean? Not just like running around on like ground that's moving. You know what I mean? And
yeah.
then briefly seeing an eyeball, But like they did spend a lot of time on Mewtwo doing Mewtwo stuff, which was cool. But like with like I don't know, they didn't show a lot of like there was a lot of action scenes that were just like we need to have momentum and movement and we need a reason uh for Tim to be down in the streets asking people if they can hear Pikachu. You know what I mean? So let's just
Like
force
why?
him
Yeah, because why
there.
would if the Apom's in attack, why would he just go run outside and be like, "Can you hear this Pikachu?"
Right.
I feel like
He
for
he
his
just wouldn't do that
character,
'cause he would be crazed. But when they have him shown down the garbage chute without any pants, I don't know. It was a weird choice to like, we're gonna take his pants off in the movie. You know, like you want to make him seem like a crazy person. That's the other, like adultish joke or whatever. And he's like, I all of a sudden can hear this Pikachu after I inhaled that gas. We're like, yeah, this kid's a druggie. He's got no pants on. But uh,
I forgot about that one. Yeah,
that moment made me laugh too.
but
Um,
that's where it leads though. From the
yeah,
Apoms, they jump down the garbage chute and then run around in the street like, "Can you hear this Pikachu?" And everyone's like, "No, you're crazy." And then they go to the get coffee because
that's
they
right.
find out his hat belonged to his father, the
And
detective.
so like I saw some people being confused of like, is that Harry's hat? And I don't know, it made sense to me that like, no, that's Pikachu's hat. And of course, like, if the hat is lost, they're not going to say the hat or the Pikachu himself. If you're lost, send it to the Pikachu. Send it,
Yeah.
if an adult man lost his hat, he wouldn't,
If your dog had
care
a
that
if you
much,
had a bandana for your dog and you didn't want to if it was lost, you want it to be sent to you and not the dog. Please
right?
send to dog at my
Exactly,
address. That's like just write your name.
right. It's basically almost like a collar, But
Yes.
of course, they did point out that like, oh, Pokemon just don't wear hats or whatever. They point out that it was a weird instance that the Pikachu wore a hat,
Hmm.
but yeah, and I thought it was smart. Like I didn't think that he didn't want to look like a crazy person talking to the Pikachu, even though people talk to their Pokemon all the time. I guess it's just the fact that like he derived meaning from random Pika Pikas and actually had a conversation with the Pikachu,
Well, they
maybe
said
that
earlier
people thought
like
was weird.
they don't understand each other, but like you
They
can
feel
they,
what you're saying,
yeah. It's like a dog like
but
you
I
want
feel
food right
like
now? You want a snack? You want to go
right.
outside? Like just the
They're
general
just jumping up and down because they're excited you're talking to them. But
yeah.
I feel like I feel like an expert Pokemon trainer could really understand what his Pokemon is trying to say and be able to like, do you want to do this? And okay, no. What about this? Okay, no, or whatever. Like, so I didn't think it was that crazy that he could talk to his Pikachu in that kind of sense. But
Yeah.
he decides to pretend to have a phone call. Again, he whips out his Game Boy Pocket. He's talking on that thing. His Amazon Fire Kids tablet. Um, where they just have a built-in rubber shell because you're
I
gonna
also
drop
want
it.
to have coffee at that place. It looked like a neat spot. I need to find out where that is
That's where
because
the Jigglypuff scene was.
it was. But like I feel like it had that like New York City uh, late
Your
diner
local
feel.
place.
Yeah, like that's where you
Your
meet.
your hidden corner.
It was really cool. I like that whole like set. I guess I'm sure it was a set. So because then they meet there later. Any like
With
meeting they
Lucy.
had, yeah, with Lucy, it was at
Yeah.
that spot.
But it's in this first instance at the coffee shop that Pikachu's really trying to convince him, like, no, like, I don't know who I am, but like, I know Harry. Harry's your dad, so we need to find him. He's alive. I can feel it, and I can feel it in my jellies. You know, so a reoccurring line. And that's when they leave, and he's finally convinced. Okay, we're gonna find my dad. You know, and they decide there's a random, honestly, a pretty convenient throwaway of like, all right, let's go to the cops. You know what I mean? And the Pikachu's like, no, we can't trust anyone, but he's trying to be cute about it. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
it didn't really feel dire. Like, we can't, grasp someone by the shirt collar. We can't trust anyone. You know
yeah,
what I mean? It was no, they're all crooked because it might be the man at the top who all the cops might be paid off. Which in that case, wouldn't you think Ryan Reynolds would be too? But um, or even you, Lieutenant Yoshida. Uh, so what happens then? Because then it goes to daytime, right? That's when they.
No, they said they're gonna go to sleep, and they'll do this in the
That's right.
morning. Like,
And then the joke of like, Pikachu's like, oh, I've never had someone over at my apartment before. Um, even though, one of them actually has a bed there. But that's right. Then the next day, then they go to CNM.
hmm
They see Lucy.
to find Lucy. Yeah.
Um, be like, okay, what's
How did
going
they
on? And
know she was there?
because she said she was a reporter for
Okay.
them, or actually, I'm a blogger. I'm actually an unpaid intern, but I really want, this is what I want. And then they go to talk to her, and she's like, "No, in my office, which is a closet." I could see that coming because who would give an unpaid intern an actual office? But I was actually surprised she had any space at all. But it's like, oh no, you can't trust anyone because the son who honestly his acting he was like just cartoon rich son villain classic like
Yeah.
boring my
You,
father
yeah.
but uh so they say okay we find out Harry had an informant so
hmm
he knew something about the R and he knew some stuff was going down and he had an informant and that's when she gave him like a location, right? You go here or whatever, something around here, right? Because that's when they
Yeah.
leave and they're walking around, I think vaguely to where it's happening, and that's when they see the Mr. Mime. That's like,
Yes. Yes.
what was he taking out trash or whatever?
Was that like a pier? Like a pier kind of
yeah,
area?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Um, and it's where like, oh, the informant was a Pokemon, and that's when we get what is probably my favorite scene in the movie. I feel like is the Mr. Mime scene
It was
because
really
it's
good. It's
so
definitely
expressive.
one of my favorites for
And
sure.
fun fact, so when showrunners were going to talk to the Pokemon Company about like inclusions of Pokemon and being in the film and yada yada, and they were talking, they want to know like stuff about like textures and stuff. I don't know if they actually said this, but like how scaly is a Charmander, for example. They want to know stuff like that, and they said so like. So what is Mr. Mime? the
What is he
Pokemon
made out
Company,
of? Yeah.
Pokemon Company was like, we don't know. like they were even like, probably don't put him in the movie because we just don't know what he is. And so like
He's so
I,
weird.
he,
It's such a
his
weird.
shoulders were like basketballs or like like gym dodgeballs like
Yeah.
but he
He really
was
doesn't fit with like anything else in
no
the first generation. Like he's
'cause
just
he's a
like
man.
it's
He's
just
just a man. And Jinx is like basically blackface. They had to change that. Now she's purple. But like I'm like honestly, if they ever keep making Pokemon movies, I'd be shocked if they show Jinx. Like ever.
the least likely one to ever be
But
shown.
uh but yeah, like the Mr. Mime scene I thought was great. It got actually dark. Like I thought it was clever that like in the games or whatever, one of his powers, he can create invisible barriers or whatever. That's like his thing, right? He's
Mm.
like, he's not just a mime, but he's like, he can make it real, like it's magic or whatever, or it's just his powers. But it wasn't just that. He actually made like, like a chair and a table or whatever he was sitting in. And Tim, which is like, Tim, like we find out brief instances along the movie that he knows way more about Pokemon than he
Let's
wants to
on.
let people know because he doesn't want to be about that Pokemon life because whatever. But and like so he knows more about Mr. Mime as a Pokemon you know than you would think, and so he knows like I'm gonna outmime Mr. Mime. And so he walks in, pretends to, pour gasoline on him, which Mr. Mime
Which was pretty
acts
messed
out.
up. Which is like
Exactly.
of all
Like
the things to do, it's like
goes
I'm
from
gonna
like
set
not
him on
wanting to do the good
fire.
cop, bad cop to like, I'm gonna torture you. You tell me what I want to know, you're dead. But uh which is like honestly my favorite part of the movie, the best hands down best part is when, Mr. Mime, they find out, they figure out what Mr. Mime is trying to say. He pours the gasoline on him. Mr. Mime, sets it out or whatever a couple times, and Pikachu or whatever he says something about like this is ridiculous, and Mr. Mime and Tim are like stop, like they even like for a moment let the charade stop. You know what I mean? To say that and continue. So Tim's like. he walks out pouring a line of gasoline and he's holding a match. Like, I'm just going to drop this match if you don't say anything. And again, my favorite part of this movie is they find out what he's trying to say and he accidentally drops the match. And then they just cut.
Yeah.
And they see the horror on Mr. Mime's face and they just cut. And I'm like, I'd like to believe that, like, that little freaking man pantomimed out being burned to death and probably laid there dead for a while. If not, what if it actually did straight up kill him?
What I'm saying, uh, it's like in those movies where like they definitely either messed him up or they're dead, and they just don't talk about it
Right.
again.
Like in a DreamWorks movie where Shrek accidentally like sits on a bird or something, or I don't know, bad example, but like they just don't show it. You know what I mean? I don't know.
What?
Or
Did
like
that ever happen? I'm trying to.
I feel like that's happened in a Shrek movie where like they've killed one of the three little pigs or something, and then they just don't show them again. But
Well, I feel like it's also like a budget thing too. Like I think that's what old like back to noir films like they'll be like, yeah, we took care of him. Like they just say it like, yeah, we took Johnny out back. We got what we needed. Just that's it.
speaking of old noir films, I'm sorry to cut you off. When another fun fact, when Tim first walks in the apartment, the TV is on and it's playing an old noir
It
film.
is.
That's a fake noir film
I was gonna say
that
I don't think it was.
that was made for Home Alone. That's the film that
Interesting.
McAllister is watching in the movie, and it's that exact scene too. And I guess they're I don't know if it was the director himself or what said that was a placeholder, and they just decided to like it, and they just licensed it and just kept it in there. But
It's a
I forgot
good.
what the name of it
I
is.
mean, if
But
like you said, you just knew like someone found that detail and was like, oh, that's cool. Like to me, that's
yeah,
a fun little touch. But
agreed. So okay, so we Mr. Mime. Basically, they find out from Mr. Mime that the R is being distributed or being tested on in this underground Pokemon battle fight club.
Fight
Because
Club.
again, in Rhyme City, there are no fights. There is no Pokemon battles. That's not a thing you do here because it's supposed to be a safe environment for Pokemon and people. So they go there, right? Um, that's when we honestly get like the only actual Pokemon battle in this
Mhm.
whole movie, which I wanted more Pokemon battles. Like I guess that's just what I want from the next Pokemon movie. Uh, Gengar looked gross.
Yeah,
Honestly, I didn't like him at
I
all.
didn't like Gengar in there. They could have
Um,
done something
and he's a
different.
fan favorite Pokemon, but
He honestly
but you
looked like
did,
a weird version of Ghastly and Gengar, and they just combined them and like
yeah,
just stick
gross teeth.
like they
But
made him too spirit like and or gas like almost instead of
yeah,
just doing
which I guess
like
is fair. But like they don't show Gengar as like being made of gas. But
yeah.
one thing that like I did appreciate that this movie hinted at, and at least gives us the impression that further Pokemon movies coming down the line that have actual battles in them, that they would be more inventive. Like it's like a Marvel movie would be in how those characters act. Because like, we play the games, these guys are just taking their turns, doing a move or whatever. And we've seen the anime where like, oh, Pikachu used Thunderbolt on the sprinkler system, to water Onyx, which makes him weak or whatever. But we get to see like, oh, there's a whole bunch of Gengar surrounding the Blastoise, so he like spins around and just starts firing cannons or whatever. Like it's not necessarily an actual Pokemon move, but
It's
it's an
just
inventive way of using how does that Pokemon do things. You know what I
mhm.
mean? And think on your feet. Like I thought that was cool. Um, we also see Loudred, the sound kind of
Doing the
Pokemon.
bass notes.
Yeah,
I
which
feel like
is
that's
very cool.
I feel like that's a Pokemon you have in your back of your trunk
Um,
while you're blasting a 21
yeah.
Savage.
Another fun fact. He's got that giant mouth, right?
Yeah.
So they were like, well, okay, shouldn't you be able to like see his stomach and stuff when he opens his mouth?
Don't worry about it.
And I guess the Pokemon company's just like, just it's a black void. Does not matter. These are cartoon characters, please. We don't know what Mr. Mime is. Please stop asking. But, we find out that the guy that's running it knows Harry, his dad, and Harry's been there before with that Pikachu, and that Pikachu beat the Charizard. and he wants a rematch. He'll let you know if you could beat him, or maybe even if you just fight him again, because basically Pikachu is gonna die against that Charizard.
Hmm.
If you fight him again, I'll tell you what you want to know or whatever. Uh, doesn't go according to plan because Tim decides to start stepping on Charizard's tail. Basically, wouldn't that kill him? um,
I don't know. Maybe that's
but
from the anime or whatever. I thought that's what it was. Or is it like from the Pokédex? It says if the flame goes out.
yeah, at least that's what I thought I remembered. But this is another moment where we find out Tim knows more about Pokemon than he lets on. Because he's listing off moves Pikachu could use, and Pikachu, I don't know how to use any of these things. I can't use it. People are watching me. But and there is the callback of like Volt Tackle's your best move, but Pikachu's like, oh, but wouldn't that make me sleepy? I'm not going to use that. That's a callback to, or that's something we'll call back to later in the movie.
Yeah.
But I guess just to speed this recap along because we've been going on for a while.
Hmm. So
Uh,
they get caught with the cops because all hell. Oh no! Someone drops the R. Was it the Ditto woman?
the dude falls down and he had it like a watch
Oh yeah,
salesman
yeah.
all up in his like coat,
Man, I do
his
not
stupid fur
remember
coat.
some of the details in this movie.
Yeah, and it
You're
cracks or
doing a great
whatever.
job because I was like, oh yeah, that does happen. I would have skipped
We
some of
also
this.
cool part is the Gyarados scene. Pikachu throws a Gyarados that has inhaled the R. I don't know how a fish could necessarily do that, but whatever. He's like, we just got to give it a little kick or whatever, and it doesn't happen.
Magikarp, yeah.
And then it evolves. You got to give it a second. It evolves into the Gyarados. We see a Charizard that's legitimately scared, and then like Gyarados floods out the room. That's how we leave that place.
And the cops
And
get them, and then uh, Yoshida.
Yoshida's dismissive, and but Tim's like, no, like my dad is alive. I found his stupid rat, his yellow rat right here, wearing a hat. And I know he's alive. I think he even might say the line, "I feel it in my jellies."
Yeah, he does.
Um, and where do we go from there?
He goes. Doesn't he go to?
Oh, no,
Um,
that's when the cop show. That's when Yoshida shows him security footage of the car crashing. Like, hey, I didn't want to show your dad dying, but you need to have Earth to Tim moment here. Sit down. Your dad is dead. I need to show you this now. And that's when they leave. They show that you see
Mewtwo.
what looks. Do they show Mewtwo or do they just show? They don't show Mewtwo. They show
That
the
was until
car.
later. Yeah, you're right.
Right,
You're
that's
right.
until later. They show either they show like a bolt or something that knocking the car off, or at least the car just like flipping and crashing. So they leave. They're sitting at like a fountain or whatever, and it really does to hit Tim like my dad actually is dead. My dad is dead. That's just the way it is. And you know, he's talking to Pikachu, and Pikachu's like, "Wow, he's dead" or whatever. And then Tim's like, "But we need to get your memories back. Like, there's more to this story. At least for you, let's figure this out." And I
Hmm.
think that was like the first like they're an actual team now. Like Tim isn't just letting Pikachu come with him for selfish reasons. You know what I mean? Like he's going to help Pikachu now.
Yeah.
Um,
It's when I think they first become legitimately friends or
yeah,
whatever you want to call it.
yeah. And
Partners, I
that's
think is a
when
better term, but
Yeah, partners. And they use that line a lot, partner Pokemon. I don't need a partner Pokemon. Now he has one. And that's when a black SUV rolls up or a black Hummer. Pikachu said that's a bad guy car. That's when like this weird lady with pink gloves
which we
walks
find out
out.
is Ditto, which is the freakiest. Not
Yeah,
not
but
the lick of
like
tongue scene wasn't gross. To me, that was
did
actually
that
kind of
character ever
gross.
talk?
No,
Because in the credits they list like that's an actress that they list. But like I feel like you had to talk in order to actually get some credit. I don't know.
no. I mean, you just play the human
Yeah, I
Ditto,
guess. But
which, like I said, is scary, kind of gross. Like it made me
we do see
uncomfortable.
there's
It
a
made me a little bit
foreshadow about the
uncomfortable.
Ditto because when we first go to CNM and we're talking to Lucy, you see Howard in the distance or whatever, and a Ditto transforms into like an aide and pushes the wheelchair.
Yeah, that
That's
was.
the
I think we
that
both
made
like
us.
looked
That
at
was the
it.
second moment where we're like, "What? This changes everything." We didn't know Ditto can
It
just
was
turn into
basically
people.
The Thing. If you ever seen The Thing,
Yeah.
it's
Oh, I know.
basically
Yeah.
that. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, no, that's not a good thing. Like, Ditto
That
could
is
be
not a good thing.
everywhere. Ditto
And I
could be
think
anybody.
I think they lit on later that like Dittos can't just do that to like they can't turn into a people, but like because they've been modifying all these Pokemon, that Ditto can. And even though like,
I hope
also
so.
like
That's scary, yo. They could do a
can
horror
a Ditto
spin-off.
transform into anything it knows, or does it have to actually see the thing?
I don't know.
Because
Like you said,
it
that's
just had
like that's Pokemon lore we know. Like maybe for this movie, they're like, we don't care about that. Like
yeah,
Ditto's known to just transform into anything
right.
generally. So
And yeah, they totally break things because later we see like continent-sized Torterras. Like obviously that's not going to be a thing that they're going to okay in a game. But so yeah, they take liberties for the sake of surprise. And that was totally a surprise. But anyway, bad guy car rolls up. Uh, human Ditto comes out. We don't know this yet, but she just had weird fingerless pink rubber gloves. And I just that just caught me off guard. Of like, that's a weird fashion choice. They get in the
it
car.
was
They take
Pokemon like though. At the same time, like I feel like that's what trainers would wear like in the games, but then it just didn't fit. I guess with what everyone else was wearing at the same time. So
so this
I
is
just
a
knew something was
weird
up. I didn't know it was Human Ditto until
yeah
she
yeah.
changed into Ditto later on. But
This is probably not it at all. Definitely not it at all. But maybe a tiny reference. I don't know. First episode of Pokemon, the TV show, Pikachu doesn't like Ash. He's electrocuting him a lot. And so Ash's mom gives him these pink rubber gloves, and he wears those. I don't know, maybe, but
maybe a reference
probably
to
not.
it.
They were also fingerless in the movie. Whatever, styles choices. So they take him. She takes bad guy car takes Pikachu into to Howard's estate or building or whatever
Skyscraper, tower.
skyscraper. They go up to the top. We see the Flareon evolve. We see the statues of Gen 4 legendaries Dialga and Palkia and Arceus, like the creation Pokemon. Which, by the way, the actor that plays Howard, Bill Nile, um, has
E-
those statues in his basement now. Apparently, he loves Pokemon now. He legitimately like loves Pokemon after this movie, and wanted to keep those statues. So he has those, which is cool. But he explains to him that he hired his dad to find Mewtwo, and shows him in this holographic. I couldn't go see the world, even though I have a whole bunch of money and can literally do whatever I want. I couldn't go see the world, so I had the world come to me. This hologram technology that he takes, the police security footage and recreates a 360 of the car crash and sees Mewtwo. Mewtwo is the one that knocked the car off with a psychic bolt or whatever he does, a shadow ball, if we want to use Pokemon move terms. And Mewtwo is the one, whatever. When we see this scene a lot in flashbacks, so I'm not sure exactly what we see here. I think it just ends with like we see Pikachu and Howard crawl out from under the car, and I think that's it.
Doesn't
So like,
Mewtwo wipe Pikachu at
but
least
we
at
I
that
think we
point?
see that when Mewtwo's explaining the scene
Yeah,
to
it
them
is kind of
later.
confusing because I feel like they do recite it
We
like
see
four
that scene
times.
like 5 times, you know, each with a tiny bit more information. That how would you know this?
Yeah.
But um, hey, Pikachu totally has that detective like recreate the scene in his head moment later because that's what a true detective does. But says, oh, it's at this research facility. My son is trying to undermine me. He's doing all this crazy stuff, and I hired my father to do it, and your father's or I hired your father to do it, and this stuff happened, so I'm gonna have you do it now instead or whatever.
Yeah.
So Tim and Pikachu are up to the task. They
They
take
get
Lucy
and
with
Psyduck.
them. We quickly meet at the coffee bar. Honestly, a stupid scene where like she doesn't want to sit next to him or whatever, and one like it was just weird. Like no one cares in that. Like you're not. No one knows who you are, so like it's not like you're truly undercover. No one knows who Tim is either. But and another like this is another scene where like they keep trying to push like the oh like he likes her, but like I don't know. I feel like they just because Pikachu says that, and then he says it in a weird way once, it's now a thing. Like I never honestly got that at all.
Yeah, it felt a little
It
forced. I was
it was just a
totally
bunch of
okay with
funny
them.
Ryan Reynolds lines, really. But
Yeah, I was okay with them never being a thing. I mean,
right,
like
I
I
don't even
feel like it
think they ended
was
up being a thing. But
no. I think they were just like, yeah, he finds her attractive and that's it. I feel like that's okay then. Like if
so
it's
he's
just
just
like,
flustered, I
yeah,
guess.
just flustered. Yeah, I think it's a good way
Honestly,
of
she
putting it.
seemed kind of dumb to me. Like she was just not. Maybe that's too harsh a term. She was too focused on trying to get the scoop. I never really got that she had a full bigger picture about what was going on. I don't know. She just whatever. Um, but we meet at the coffee
They
shop.
needed additional information, so that's what her character is
Yeah,
for,
that,
basically.
basically. And I think she's a character in the game too. I think. I don't know. Regardless,
They go to
Uh,
Area
they get in her
51.
tiny little car. We see more of Psyduck. Psyduck is probably my favorite character in this movie because the thing knows that people have to take care of it because it can kill them all, and it takes advantage of that. So honestly, you get this cute scene of like Pikachu's in a baby carrier in the car, and Psyduck is like, rub my feet or whatever, the Pikachu, and Pikachu's like, fine, I'll do it because I'm afraid of you. And they're driving to the research facility, which I forgot what the name of it
Area
was.
52. Just kidding. I don't know what it was called.
Probably area Pokemon 51 or
Yeah.
whatever. So always got to use the word Pokemon in front of
And they cut
everything.
in so easily.
I know. You shouldn't
Like,
like. Aren't you
the
supposed to be like an
mil-
investigative reporter? You didn't think maybe there'd be security cameras?
well, I was
you know?
waiting for like military police. Like, there's got to be
Yeah.
someone on duty. Like, no one was there. I get
Yeah,
like
and the
Mewtwo like
cameras pick
ditched.
them up,
Mewtwo
and
ditched and no one
that's
was
when the
there.
sun decides to go there, but there's no one there. It's just weird, you know.
Unless it was a trap. But why
But
is the
was it?
sun going there? If the sun was like on their team in the end, that's what I was a little confused about too.
I think that was Ditto because wasn't he always wearing the sunglasses from like once
Oh, you're
we
right.
meet him
You're right.
once
I think
and the TV station he's a douche.
it's Ditto's son.
It's Sun as or Ditto as Sun
Yes.
for like the rest of the movie until we find, conveniently tied up in a closet nearby the Sun.
The
But
whole time. I don't know how long he's been in there. That's actually kind of scary.
it's gonna
Could have been
starve his
weeks.
son to death. YouTube wasn't gonna feed him. um, yeah, that's right. Yeah, because he also just doesn't talk for the rest of the movie too.
True.
He's just supposed to be a menacing, like I'm watching you. Like you can't go around wherever you want because I'm here to remind you that
I own everything.
there's
It's
stuff going on.
1984, basically.
Yeah, but they go around. They see okay, they're experimenting on Greninjas to make them more powerful. I didn't really see how that was implemented.
Basically, yeah.
And then they see, oh, there's the Torterras. They're going to be bigger, but they don't look that big. In fact, they actually look kind of small. Because Torterra is a Gen 4 starter Pokemon, Grass Final Evolution. So I think that it's like Greninja. Like I feel like enough Pokemon fans would know who he is to know that like he's not. It's just you just assume that he's not that big or ever. But I feel like as a normal person going to see this movie, you might not know. Oh, he's a turtle. How big is a turtle? I've seen Squirtle. I don't know.
Yeah.
That was one of those
More of a
moments, one of the
tortoise.
few
I think
moments
they're
where
like the size
like,
of a tortoise, closer to a
yeah,
tortoise.
oh, it did have a tree on his back, but they're going through. For some reason, they get split up. I'm not sure why. Uh, the Ditto as the son sees them on the security cam. They're already driving there in another bad guy car, another black SUV Hummer thing, and he from his phone, Ditto can read, I guess. Uh, activates all the Greninjas, sets them free or whatever, and I guess just to kill them. Just
Yeah.
bloodthirsty Ditto, I
Capture
guess.
them, something.
The Ditto is, I guess, just that loyal to Howard, which
And
is
then,
actually a weird thing to think about. He's
yeah.
gonna kill in the name of.
And then they watch the security footage of Mewtwo and be like,
Yeah.
oh, wow. They were
They referenced that Mewtwo was recaptured 20 years ago,
with
or
the first
he was
Pokemon movie, yeah.
yeah, like
Or
basically that kind of thing happened, and 20 years later he's been recaptured. So they definitely don't say this is the origin of Mewtwo. They didn't make Mewtwo here, but they recaptured him.
mhm.
And so Mewtwo is a sympathetic character now in the eyes of Tim, and that because he was being tortured by the sun, we assume, and these scientists.
Mm-hmm.
The scientists were definitely like torturing him. Uh, and then,
Long story
then
short, they get chased out.
yeah,
There's giant turtles underneath the ground.
yeah, that scene went on way too
It
long.
was like a good 10 minutes.
Way too long. We do get the funny scene of like, Psyduck is freaking the hell out, and Pikachu's like, "Stop! Actually, freak out. We need you to blow up." So he uses like mind shock or whatever
Which I
confusion.
think wakes up the.
I think you're right. I think that's probably what woke him up.
And then
And then what? Half an hour of running on CG trees and stuff. Uh, they wake up and then they just go straight back to sleep. Which honestly, I would be terrified.
yeah, that's
These
basically a
things,
kaiju at that point. That's not even a Pokemon.
right?
That's
What if this thing decides to go take a walk?
through the
You know what
city
I
and
mean?
just kill
You can
everybody.
assume because it's a plant Pokemon, it doesn't need to eat. It just gets the sun. Also, think about it this way. What if someone was walking on a mountain, dropped a Pokeball,
Did you,
captured Torterra, and you fall 3,000 feet?
we're thinking about
you
this
know,
way too
into just a pit.
That's a
It's
plot
scary.
hole. Literally,
Like
a hole will appear.
like oh, like there's an apom, like catch it. You miss the apom, it hits the tree, and you're falling.
That's a
Scary. But yeah, we'll skip all that stuff.
Pikachu
Uh,
gets hurt. Oh no,
which I didn't actually see. That happened way too fast.
Pikachu gets hurt. Then a bunch of Bulbasaurs, which are really cute. They're like, "Oh, follow us.
But not you, Lucy. Screw you.
Screw you. You go do whatever you want."
The
Then
Bulbasaur were very cute.
they were a whole pack of them, and then
They
they go.
remind me of like the seven dwarves from Snow White.
Yeah, kind
Like
of.
they're just
It did
humming
seem like
along
they were
while they're
traveling
marching.
like hours. Like,
Yeah,
I'd be like, Pikachu's dead, dude, at this point.
yeah.
Uh,
Um,
then Mewtwo's at the end, were at the little like
it looked
underground.
like you're gonna sacrifice him on a rock
It was like an
before Mewtwo
underground.
shows up,
Yeah, it was like a little
like a ravine or something.
ravine. Yeah, and they're like, Mewtwo's like, yeah, I wiped your mind or whatever, and
And then we see a bit more of a flashback, but it conveniently cuts out at the part where Mewtwo says, Humanity is evil," but before saying, "But you've proven otherwise," or something. Like it just happens to cut out there. And he abducts Pikachu. He says, "Good, you brought the sun to me." He abducts Pikachu, right,
yeah,
to heal him,
to heal
brings him
him.
back, and then Mewtwo's captured by Ditto Sun.
That we don't
Captured by
know
Ditto.
is Ditto's son, but
Right, but he's captured, so he doesn't get to say the rest of the flashback. Pikachu sees in his own flashback that he's the one that set Mewtwo free, so he thinks, "Oh, I betrayed Harry. You can't trust me." A weird callback to that Mr. Mime scene where he says, "I push everyone away and I hate them for leaving." Like, I feel like that joke was said a couple times. Then I didn't actually get was supposed to be maybe a moral dilemma he was having. I don't
yeah,
know. But he definitely has it there. And it's just an excuse to separate the two characters. Tim goes after Mewtwo. Uh, Pikachu is down on himself, happens to stumble onto the bridge. He's singing the Pokemon theme song from the cartoon, uh, which I actually have a feeling it might have been just improv. I don't know. But I was hoping it would end with "I hate that show" or something. Something
yeah.
to bring the show like to just to point fun at it. Um,
It's like what a dumb
but
song or
they'll
something like that.
probably want to make that a movie at some point. They don't want to not make Ash a character. I think would be safe. He's on the bridge. He sees a frozen Greninja star and has the realization. Does a true detective piece the whole scene around him? Flashback kind of thing, and says, "Oh, Greninja's the one that blew up the car, and Mewtwo stopped them. Mewtwo shot at the Greninjas and saved me and Harry, and Harry was gonna die or something, and so he put his soul in my body, but my mind needed to be wiped, or maybe it was Harry's mind that was wiped, and Pikachu was just dormant. Something was going on.
Yeah,
Pikachu was like, "Oh my god,
I need to
I
get
need to
back.
save Tim."
Yeah, I need to
We
get back
rush
to the
back.
city.
We're in the city.
Parade's
Uh,
happening.
Parade is happening. By the way, I'm pretty sure that Pikachu parade balloon is the one that they use in real life for the Macy's Thanksgiving Day parade. It's that pose for sure.
It looks just like
Uh,
it, yeah.
Along with there was a Gengar balloon that looked more believable than the actual Gengar in the movie. Not really, but like it poked fun. I was just disappointed in Gengar. Um, what happens next?
Oh, he
Then
meets.
Tim's talking to the father, and then it's just revealed that like I'm the bad guy, and I want to use Mewtwo because I want to be Mewtwo.
Why did I show you
And
this? I don't know.
yeah,
I could have just killed you,
yeah,
or I
well,
would
it's
have
a
not
kids
let
movie,
you up.
but
Just
yeah,
left you in the
weird.
lobby. You're not
And then
coming up
Tim's like,
here.
the balloons are full of gas. For some reason, you want to force everyone to evolve
It's
too.
classic villain to be like, I want the
I
person I
want the thing that's good,
exposed.
that's best for me, to be best for everyone. Maybe.
No, I'm saying more of like I want to expose what I was doing all along to the person I
Oh, I see what you're
abused,
saying.
basically.
Yeah,
Like that's one of my.
you want recognition for how evil you are.
Yes.
Yeah, you don't want to you want someone to know that you orchestrated this whole thing.
Yeah.
Uh, so he mind melds with Mewtwo. Mewtwo's doing his thing. Tim goes to just take the Professor X mind
It does
the
look
helmet
exactly
off
like it.
straight up. He's in was it the Danger Room, whatever, observatory thing from the X-Men movies. He goes to do that, but Ditto stops him. He was the pink-haired girl all along, or no, he was the son all along. Then turns into the pink-haired girl with the pink gloves.
Hmm.
That turns into suspiciously all the Pokemon that they made in the movie already. None of them were new that I could tell. Like Machamp would have just crushed his bones.
It doesn't Machamp punch him?
Yeah,
I was like, he's dead.
he should have been. It
That's
should
a
have been like
fatal
super
hit. That's a
pressing. You
fatal
should have been
hit.
dead,
That's not a critical hit. That's a
or at least
fatal hit.
flown out the window.
That's a fatal hit.
But it's amusing. And maybe who's to say? Maybe Ditto doesn't have all that strength that a Machamp would have. Who knows? So
Whatever.
we're
It
taking
doesn't
liberties
matter.
as is. So he's having a fun, goofy fight with a pink blob. Meanwhile, Pikachu's down at the parade, and he knows what's up, and he's trying to fight Mewtwo. The gas is already going out, and Howard in Mewtwo's body is using his powers to mind meld trainers with their trusty partner Pokemon. So you get like Yoshida's now inside Snubble, Lucy's in Psyduck, etc., etc. Lucy, meanwhile, is trying to get the word out, trying to sneak on camera uh, to expose the sun at the time in her mind, what's going on, because she knows what's going up for the most part. Uh, so Pikachu's having a cool battle with Mewtwo, and we get that callback to Volt Tackle. He's like, Tim says Volt Tackle is my best move, so I gotta use it because he knows he's gonna be knocked out after using it, but he's got to do it anyway because this is his only chance.
Hmm.
So he's fighting Mewtwo or whatever, and I think it's fair because you might be thinking, well, it's not a fair fight. Mewtwo could just rip Pikachu in half by thinking about it. But also, we have Howard is in Mewtwo, so it's someone that doesn't know, Mewtwo's full potential. And we also learned that single Pikachu just whooped that Charizard's butt earlier. So I feel like it's more even than you might think.
Hmm.
They're fighting, Tim's fighting. It's a
I didn't
whole
think about
cool
it that
thing.
much. I was just like, sure. Like,
Well, I mean, I definitely just went with it because it's a movie. But like, if you wanted to be like, well, actually, you wanted to be the Neil deGrasse Tyson of Pokemon, you could think of it that way, I guess. In any case, we get the conclusions of these two battles. Uh, um, Tim takes Professor X's helmet off of Howard. Howard wakes up, which is like, what was his plan? Because I thought initially it was like, oh, he's just gonna be inside Mewtwo. That body's dead. But no, he's still gotta like eat and stuff. Was we gonna like his it was
Yeah, if his
how
body
weird is it to
dies,
spoon feed your own body? I don't know.
do you
This is
still
what he would have
taste
to
it?
do. Right. Does Mewtwo need to eat? Who knows? He can bring people back from the dead.
So many questions.
and
Is
but
it
I
worth
think
it? I
it's
don't
it's
know.
fine. Again, like a reoccurring thing I think this movie is this movie is in between, I think, DreamWorks level kids movie and an MCU level all ages movie.
I
It's
agree
not
with that.
quite
You don't need to
as
think about it too much.
we're quite as not respectable. I take that back. Not quite as uh, well written a script as like an MCU movie that's supposed to be for all ages, legitimately all ages, not just a kids movie, and an actual like kids movie. And like I like this. I like the movie a lot, but I do think that like it was for kids, and I think we
At
see
the end
that
of
in
the
a
day,
lot of
it's for
scenes
kids.
like
Yeah.
this, where like we don't need to think about it this much. You know what I mean? It's just
Does he
like
go to jail? Right.
he goes to jail, yeah, and then
And
the
then
conflict's resolved.
his son's like, I'm gonna make sure this doesn't happen again, and actually, I'll make it better.
All of a sudden now I'm a good guy, mainly because you exposed the company, and now I get to be in charge completely or whatever.
And I
And
have to save face. So
yeah, and intern girl who I said had terrible fashion sense, you're a reporter now because you knew the whole time. Even though I hate you and you thought it was me. you know and turns out it was that freaky beady-eyed ditto, creepy guy.
that
But
is the scariest part in that whole movie was the
yeah,
Ditto. It was like I said, it was gross, scary, and disturbing.
yeah. um
Should have been rated R
he
just for
defeats the ditto, by the way, by like making it inhale the R, which does like a weird reverse thing than like all the other Pokemon. I'd like to actually know
we know what they should
what the
have did
thought about that was.
since they probably wouldn't have done it because I think it'd make the rating go up. So was it PG or PG-13?
That's a good question. I'm gonna go ahead and say PG. Let me look this up.
Because with the R it usually makes them rage, right? Or their powers are enhanced. With all that rage the Ditto consumed, I wanted it to keep transforming into a billion things and just explode. I think that would have been cool.
Jeez, that would have been dope. Rated PG
Yeah, so that would probably put it at a PG-13, and they can't do that.
for action/peril, some rude and suggestive humor, and thematic elements. The movie was only 104 minutes,
It felt
which I
longer
feel
than
like,
that. It felt longer than that.
honestly, yeah, I don't know. The movie felt short though to me too.
I honestly felt like it was a perfect length where I wasn't like, okay, like you said, we thought some scenes dragged out,
Yeah,
but at the
that
same
stupid
time, I
Totoro
felt
scene.
like it wasn't too short or too long. I think it was
Maybe it
perfect.
just felt short to me because it was the trailer. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I only watched the trailer like once, so I think that helps
Okay,
going in that like I didn't remember everything from the trailer, so things might have been new to
hmm.
me that weren't new to you, I guess. I don't know.
Sure.
But at the end of the day, what
Uh,
is this like
well,
was
let's
this
finish the recap real
Okay,
quick.
go ahead.
Um, the day is saved. People's lives are getting better. Mewtwo. We get that dramatic shot of Mewtwo because he faints after using Volt Tackle to knock Howard/Mewtwo. Um, both, and so Pikachu's falling. That's when Tim takes Professor X's helmet off. So Mewtwo falls because he's lost his consciousness and he's gaining it back. And we get that dramatic shot of like Pikachu's about to fall to his death, and Mewtwo psychically catches him or whatever. Then Mewtwo fixes everything
I
because, of
wanted to do
course,
this the Thanos snap. I really
yeah.
did. That'd be just, just
Mewtwo's just like giant, like I don't know, weird fingers doing the snap. Might be a little hard, but and it's kind of implied that like the dad's coming back, but they don't want to show that yet because they want to have the scene where Tim's waiting by the train station, and you hear Ryan Reynolds say, "Hey kid," just like Pikachu has said many times before, and you see Pikachu, and then it pans out and you see a wiry old looking Ryan Reynolds. They definitely try to make him look a lot older than
still look good
he
though.
is, so he
I'm
can
gonna
be a
give him
dad.
a 9 out of 10. That was a
nine,
nice
9 out of 10.
outfit he had on, and he had that like scruff going.
He definitely had that going on. And then there's that like like awkward, like, well, here's your ticket, and the kid's like, okay, and he goes to leave, and he's like, you know what, you mind if I stay? And Ryan Reynolds is like, I would a lot, and they're like, let's go get a coffee, and Ryan Reynolds says, I've been thinking about that a lot for some reason.
So does he not
Uh,
know? That was the question I had. Does he not remember
my
Anything
thinking
with
was
him being in
my
Pikachu or
yeah,
no?
my thoughts was like, okay, so whose mind was wiped? Was it Pikachu's mind wiped and Ryan Reynolds' soul was in Pikachu, so therefore he also doesn't remember? Or was it Ryan Reynolds' mind wiped, or Harry's mind wiped, sorry, and Pikachu is just dormant. He's just playing, like
Yeah.
Get Out. He's just in the back of the dude's mind in the movie Get Out.
Yeah.
Uh
He's in the
like
sunken place.
Teacup. He's in the sunken place. Um Us wasn't that bad. Um or and so then when the memory comes back together, A does Harry remember everything? I think he does because but at least does he remember being Pikachu? Does Pikachu have all those memories of talking?
Yeah.
Because to
There's
be
a lot of
honest,
questions there.
Pikachu looked confused and stupid. He we barely see him be Pikachu. You know what I mean? Pikachu actually saying Pikachu and all that stuff after they separate, but it didn't seem like he had a complete understanding about like the situation that happened. I don't know. Maybe I'm just pulling way too much out of
We
like
probably
three
are.
seconds,
It's a,
but
it's like it's the conclusion.
yeah,
Everyone go
and
home.
it's if they ever want to do a sequel, I don't know how, but
Honestly, I wouldn't want one. I think
I
it's
don't think they will.
I like that this movie just, everything's good, everything's fixed.
Yeah,
Let's leave it at that. I don't think we needed
and it's a
I like
happy
the
ending.
characters but I feel like they've reached their conclusion. There's no real like the only thing they could probably do is be like they're on another case, but this time
Right.
Ryan Reynolds is in it. But like I feel like what makes
It's
Detective
not going to be
Pikachu
as fun because it's supposed to be like the straight man is a person and the funny man is a Pikachu. You know what I mean? And
yeah.
if he knows, like, let's say we try to put the genie back in the bottle for the sequel, and he's inside Pikachu again, but like it's his dad, so he's not gonna act the same way.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so I think this is the only one, but like at the end of the day, he's now like accepted his dad. He's accepted his love of Pokemon again, and movie's over, I guess. And we get those dope ass credit sequence,
Mm-hmm.
like legitimately pretty cool. Um, and yeah, no credit scene, but
I
yeah,
didn't credit it, yeah.
that's the movie. That's what the 3 hour recap we just did, longer than the movie itself. Um,
Yeah. I like how we were just like, we'll just quickly recap the plot. And we went in depth.
scene by scene. Yeah.
But this is probably what
So
we'll do with the Sonic movie anyways. So I
oh,
guess
we're
it gives people a little
you can't just
taste.
name a podcast the Sonic movie show and not do this the same treatment. But I think overall I like the movie a lot. I was a bit disappointed that they didn't show too many cool Pokemon and Pokemon moments from outside the brief instances we saw in the trailers. So I was a bit disappointed in that. But at the same time, I'm also accepting of the fact that this is the first Pokemon movie. And, we don't just get Avengers Endgame right out the bat. We got to
Yeah.
have, Iron Man. I'm not saying this was the Incredible Hulk of Pokemon. This was Iron Man. This was cool. We saw cool
It's
moments.
solid,
The
which
story
is
the
really
story was
good for a video
okay,
game movie. That's what it
but it
goes
was
down
good.
to. It was solid, which makes it a great video game movie. You know what I mean?
First video game movie to have a certified fresh rating on Rotten Tomatoes. Um, First one. But yeah, and I think as this relates to the Sonic movie,
which is what most of the
uh,
goal of this episode is
yeah,
supposed to be. But whatever. This is our show. You can
I think as it relates to the Sonic movie, I think this sets a good template of like it doesn't have to be moment from the thing that that this is a movie based about. It can take liberties. It could take a story that isn't really what you know about the property. Like Detective Pikachu isn't the main games, right?
mhm.
If, like I said, like no one played that game, really. Being fair here by saying no one. So this for most people, this is like a random story in this world, and it's successful at being that. It's not weird that it's not just Pokemon the video game, the movie. So I think Sonic doesn't necessarily have to be that. It can be
Like with the
what the
whole,
trailer kind of seems to be.
in the trailer for Sonic, remember we saw the ring thing, like he throws it
Mhm.
down. Everyone, like I know we were talking about like, oh, Sonic doesn't do that, but I'm not against or opposed
As
to
long as
that
it
being
can
a
make
thing.
sense in the movie. You
Yes,
know what I mean? As long as they're not just like, yeah, and randomly the ring does that, and like, of course it does that. Like, well, no, you explain it a little bit because you know that this is not how it works in the games. So you got to tell us why.
but the
And
thing is,
make
Pokemon Pikachu didn't do that with some of the Pokemon abilities. Like you said with the Ditto thing, that Ditto usually has to see something to copy it. We don't
at least
necessarily
that's what
see
I
that.
understood from Ditto, but yeah, and they took liberties. Again, their excuse was we experimented on the Pokemon. Cool.
Yeah. So I
You
feel like
know,
with the Sonic things, if like he has like a little bit of a change in powers, depending on what the powers are, I think it's okay. And I think
yeah,
people
and
need to
it,
be okay with it because we gotta remember this movies are made to make money, and like yeah, it's cool that
right.
you could look at them as art, and I think directors try to do it in that way of like yeah, I want to make this good because my peers will like it or fans will like it, but at the end of the day,
It's a business.
it's a business.
Yeah.
So if they made Detective
It,
Pikachu like exactly like the game, made it just filled with Easter eggs that only like we would
true
get,
fans,
it'd be
quote unquote,
boring
would
for the
know.
general person coming
Right.
in. Kids might not be entertained by that. Like my kid brain was on watching Detective Pikachu, and I was like, "This
Right.
is really fun." I know if this came out when I was 10, I would have probably loved
Right.
this. Like
Reptilian brain on.
reptilian
But
brain on, but that's
yeah.
what Sonic needs to do. I think this is a good. I mean, obviously, probably way too late now, but they are. We'll talk about that, I think, in a later episode with that one news of
Next
them.
episode, we're going to talk about the change of his design because that news broke out last week.
Yeah, but it wasn't enough to, I think, do a
I
whole
think
episode.
just if we want to talk real quick numbers, Detective Pikachu budget of $150 million.
Which is
Uh,
not that
which,
much considering
well,
with all the
compared
CG.
to like these MCU movies,
Yes,
but all like more than a rom com, but less than Iron Man or
it's
whatever.
just like it's a decent amount, but it isn't like to me like 250 would have been over, like not over budgeting, but like would have been high for this kind of movie. And I think
For sure.
150 is like a little low. Like I think a good like
And
170,
it
180
kind of
would have been.
explains why we don't really get to see Jigglypuff a whole lot. You know what I mean? Or
Yeah.
how why that's why Ditto only transforms into the Pokemon we've seen already in the movie
Yes.
because they modeled those Pokemon.
Yeah. I mean, I have
But
this Forbes article talking about like the
well,
budget and
real
then
quick,
go ahead.
it was $150 million. It opening box office weekend made over 170. And if we remember, the Sonic movie's budget is 90 million.
Mhm.
I think it can make its money back because if you think about okay, so Sonic 90 million, Pikachu 150 million. How many CG characters are going to be on screen and modeled at once in the Sonic movie versus the Pokemon movie? I think that the budget might be fairly even, taking that into consideration.
Mhm.
And I think this gives me hope that Sonic movie can easily make its money back before Frozen destroys it when it comes into theaters like a week and a half later.
Well, yeah, because this one Forbes article I found, which was released today,
Okay.
saying that there was a 72% drop from Sunday to Monday, but it still got in the same ballpark of what people were predicting the movie would make. Because in its launch, it made 54.4 million. It was estimated to make 58. But they did say in this article, I'll link it in the description,
Okay.
how if you compare it to the Pokemon the first movie, it's actually right around the same. Granted, it was
Interesting.
adjusted. This is adjusted because back then, $31 million in 1999 is different. It would have been an estimated of 55 million if that movie
$31
adjusted.
million. Where did the budget go? Like we
No,
saw
I'm
that
saying money.
movie.
No, not budget. I'm talking
Oh,
about this is
profit. I'm sorry.
profit. Yeah.
Take that back.
So it was 31 million in 1999, 55 million adjusted. So right around where this movie made. But Forbes does predict that it will become the best-selling video game movie, just from a global standpoint. Maybe not domestically. The closest one I think is, if I'm reading this correctly, they put like a lot of numbers here, so I kind of got confused here and there.
Okay.
But I think for domestic, Mortal Kombat is the next closest from
Interesting.
1995. So there's also Tomb Raiders in there.
That's what I
So
would have thought. Or that terrible Doom movie starring The Rock.
and then Jumanji: Welcome to the Jungle made a decent amount of money. So
Wait,
it's
they
right.
consider that a video game movie?
That's what it's listing.
That's
Yeah,
weird.
a game movie, a board game movie,
But it's
anything.
not based off a board game. Like then they made the board game
I
after the movie.
oh, did
But
they? I didn't know that.
maybe
Oh,
just because like the concept was video games
yeah.
for the sequel.
They talk
But
about Warcraft. Warcraft has the most money in terms of overseas, like not U.S. Like it didn't do great
China, I
domestically,
can see.
but China, like yeah, it made 433 million worldwide.
That's not a little bit of money.
And then
That's
Rampage
that's a
made
lot.
428 million worldwide. So I don't.
That's right. Why did they just took that license and they just made just the weirdest movie? Like
I
that
haven't
movie was
watched it
about
yet.
people turning into the animals. Whatever.
But basically, they were just saying like, yeah, it's ain't gonna be Avengers Endgame money, but it's still probably like there's a good chance it'll at least be top three in video game movies of all time. So in terms of money, pretty
And
good.
it's this is only the beginning too. Like there there's no way that they're like, okay, cool, we made our Pokemon movie. Cool, let's stop. Like they're totally gonna make more, especially
The
since
way
this already
Legendary
made
has
its
been
money back.
going, I also think because Legendary has a lot of more international like stuff. They had Pacific Rim, which
Hmm.
is kind of a cult classic. Like didn't do well domestically, but always did well in like
In
China.
China.
Same with Godzilla. Like all these
Yep.
ones are coming out are very like
Chinese audiences really love these action movies.
exactly. So like if Sonic could like go for that audience, we'll get more of Sonic. I think even if like the Sonic movie is bad, but I feel like well maybe not. It really depends. I don't know. I feel like if it like completely bombs, they'll probably never do it again. But if it gets what a little bit under what Detective Pikachu is making in the United States, and then it gets whatever money it gets in international sales, then I think we
I
have a
think the
Sonic
magic
future
number
Sonic films.
is like 35% over its budget. Then it's like, okay, this wasn't a waste of time.
Yeah,
Because just because a movie makes its budget back, that's still a waste of time in terms of how
for
they
a
look at it financially,
producer,
because they
yeah,
literally spent time on just making their money.
I think a good 35% is solid because
Yeah.
even
I mean,
in
I pulled that number out of my butt, but
no, I feel like that'd be solid for a Sonic film. That'd probably be a win for
yeah.
them. I feel like they are taking. I mean, Legendary is not doing Sonic, but I mean, for them, I feel like they did take a slight risk with Detective Pikachu, but I feel like it was a good risk to take because of it's just
Yeah.
Pikachu. You know what I mean? It's Pokemon, so
Yep. It's such a global brand. It's like probably the biggest brand that's known worldwide. You know what I mean? Not just in the West here, but like worldwide. Pokemon Go was, I don't have the statistic and I don't have the exact quote, so this isn't verbatim. But when it came out in 2016, was the biggest global human phenomenon in history.
I mean,
Like
yeah,
that was the stuff I was
I
reading.
remember going out for like that first week, just like we
And like
went.
everyone was,
Yeah,
you know
it
what I
was
mean?
weird.
All around the world, if you had a phone, you
Yeah,
played Pokemon Go.
yeah,
Um,
but
yeah,
that's the thing is Sonic. I feel like isn't as big as Pikachu for sure, and that's when I'm a little. That's where we get worried. You know what I mean? Like if this
mhm,
movie sucks, people aren't gonna just go in because it's Sonic. You know what I mean? Not the average person. I mean, I think more kids will be like, I don't care if the Pikachu movie sucks. I want to go see it, or not the
mhm,
kid, but like the parent. Like, oh, my kid wants to see it. How many kids are gonna be like, I want to go see a Sonic movie, even if the parent knows the movie sucks? You know what I mean? Compared to a
yeah.
Pikachu movie.
And how many parents take their kids to see Minions 12? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
So
but
I
yeah,
think. Go ahead.
I said I was just saying I think this bodes well for Sonic. I think story wise, it proved that you don't need to do everything that the video game property is known for to be worth it. You know what I mean? Obviously, you can save stuff for other movies, but uh, like I didn't see the Tomb Raider movie. I didn't see the Assassin's Creed movie. I didn't see there was a Hitman movie that came out a couple years ago.
Yeah, there
Just
was.
flew under the radar. The Tomb Raider movie was that game, was the rebooted game, pretty much, from what I've been told. And like instead of doing, I don't know, like something else in that universe with, Laura Croft, they just did the thing that it's known for. And since it was okay, it's like it's hard to just do it again because you prove that it just doesn't work. You know what I mean? Where
If you're gonna
Pikachu,
do a
if
video game movie, I feel like you have to do an original story. Yeah, technically, Detective Pikachu is based off a game, but it's like you said, it wasn't a game that
it's
no one
original
played,
enough,
and it sounds like they just made it. They just took the source material and just changed, like, just took the general idea of like, what if Pikachu is a detective? Let's work
right?
from there. And that's cool. If they're like, okay, Sonic's a blue hedgehog, what can we do with that? You know what I mean? If they do,
Right.
I mean, it looks like that's what they're doing with the trailer. If anything, this movie changes my perspective on the trailer and being like, you know what? Maybe we are being too aggressive. Maybe
Being a
this
little too critical, maybe.
like this trailer is actually being is for the general audience and not for us. And this movie will be for the general audience, which is a good thing. If this,
Hmm.
I think Detective Pikachu shows video game movies shouldn't be based directly or shouldn't directly copy what the video game's plot, story, or uh, direct characters should be. I feel like it just should like if you're gonna make a Gears of War movie, make it like you can loosely
In
follow
that
the
world is
idea.
rich enough. They don't need to do a video. You don't
I
need to
don't need to
do
see
an
the
already
plot
existing
for
story.
yeah. I don't need
This
to see
isn't
the
like books. You know what I mean? Where like, all right, we're gonna do all of Harry Potter. We're gonna do all of this, all of that, Twilight, etc. Like the Pokemon and even Sonic to a degree has existed enough outside of its main medium that it's just known enough. Like we understand what a Pikachu does. You don't have to play the games. You just know he shoots electricity. He's got that tail. He's got those red cheeks everyone wants to squish until they get zapped. And Sonic is blue and he runs fast. Like unlike Harry Potter, like you don't know who Harry Potter is until you've
you
read
don't
the
know the
book,
world
right? Because it's
how it
not a brand
works. Yeah,
until it has a movie. You know what I mean?
yeah. So I
So video
think
games don't have to be like books in this sense.
like I think and then I think that should be a rule from now on. If you're making a video game movie, get the general maybe like the
Get us
general
in the door,
get us in the door or general gist, pick this one singular idea from it and work and expand from that, make it original. Don't
Mhm.
copy exactly what the plot is or if the ending is going to be the same ending that's in the game, I'll play the game. That's what the video game's for. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like I
And
didn't
like
see
the
the
other thing
Warcraft
too,
movie, but
video games a lot longer than 104 minutes, like this movie. You know what I
yeah.
mean? Like
Was the
it's hard.
Warcraft movie based off any of the plot in Warcraft? Do we know this?
I have no idea.
Okay.
Yes, it is. It is. I know that, but like I don't know if how specific. But it has those characters doing the things that they're known in the Warcraft series for doing. I think it is the plot generally of like Warcraft 1 through
Because that's a
3
little
or
bit
something.
different. If it's like based
But
off some lore that they mentioned in the game, I think that's fine. But if it's like directly what you do in the game, they should stay away
which is
from it.
very hard because again, an
I'm not saying it's
RPG
easy,
is going
but
to be dozens of hours long, and there's a lot more than just the actual story. There's incidental player stories you have, and how do you translate that feeling into a film? And I think by just not doing that, and you do an original story like this, original enough, like we've said, like you just sidestep that issue completely.
this
This
actually
is a
changes.
brand
The
movie,
more I
not a
think
video
about
game
it,
movie.
the more I think about it, this is actually giving me not hope for the Sonic movie, but like it's gonna I think change the way I look at it. Because maybe like I said, I think we're being too critical. I think maybe we want it to be one thing instead of just letting the writers and the directors being like, you know what, we're just gonna take Sonic, get the general idea of him, we're just gonna throw him into a cool story. Boom.
Hmm.
And if it's just fun, it's a win. I think we've said
Boy, I
that
hope
before.
it is.
I think that's what we said before. It's like if we come out of the theater like just being like I feel like I had a fun time, like it wasn't a total waste of, an hour and a half, hour 45 minutes, then it's a huge win. because video game movies are still newer. You know, video games are new generally in terms
Mm-hmm.
of the history of humans. Video games are new, and the movies about them are even more.
It's like
Uh,
twice as old,
yeah. Uh,
maybe a little longer. But
so like, yeah, there's gonna be growing pains, and I feel like this is the first real like fleshed out. This is
we had
what.
growing pains with comic book movies.
Yeah, this is the right step towards what makes a good or what I mean. I think Detective Pikachu is a good video game movie, but if we get more ones like this that are even better, then eventually maybe we'll be like, okay, Detective Pikachu is all right
Like we're gonna get the Pokemon movie that shows a lot of cool Pokemon battles. You know what I mean? Like
for the
we're gonna
nerds.
get that.
Yeah, when
You
there
know what I
might be
mean?
other
We're gonna
people
look
who
back on
are
Detective Pikachu as a quaint movie, kind of like how we look back on Iron Man as a quaint movie that was cool. You know, but like we don't. It doesn't detract from it. And I think you're right. I think Sonic. I have hope that Sonic can be like that. It's not a lot of hope,
it's not a lot of
but
hope,
it's
but it makes me feel better that like uh it's actually a good thing that they're not. The only thing we don't I don't like is the design, and they're changing that. So if they make the
right.
design more like what Sonic looks like, this movie I think there's nothing really I can crap on besides like the trailer. I feel like just wasn't well
Good.
done, but like that
Yeah.
doesn't make the mean the movie's gonna be bad because you can say wasn't the first Detective Pikachu trailer kind of
Oh no, I liked it. You and I have
well, I mean, it wasn't the
varying
first.
opinions on
Well,
this.
it wasn't the first one when it came out. People were a little indifferent. Like, there's some people who really liked it, and some people didn't like it, from what I
I
remember.
guess.
But
Sure. Well, in any case, uh, we're going to talk about Sonic's redesign and the effects of that next episode. I think this episode has gone on long enough. I think
yeah,
you can agree.
yeah.
So I think we're going to wrap this up now. Do you have any final thoughts about Detective Pikachu?
Go see it in theaters and bring your kids if you have them, or if you just have
Give me a rating.
a rating out of what
Yeah, out of 10. I don't know. Out of
10,
5. 5
5.
stars.
Oh, that's
No half stars.
damn it. 3
Three out of 5 stars. I think I can agree with that.
because I feel like a 4 would be
Good,
too
not great,
generous. Yeah, it was
not
fun. I
mediocre.
had fun. A 3 isn't a bad number for a video game movie. That's a 5. The 3
Right.
equals a
For
5.
everything we've gone through, yeah. This isn't X3. This is Spider-Man 2.
Which was
And
good.
we haven't gotten
Yeah,
Iron Man yet. But this is
I
great.
like that.
I
I
agree
like that
with that.
comparison. This is Spider-Man 2.
Right. This is the best we have so far, and we haven't hit that next revolution. We're gonna look back on like we look at Spider-Man 2, look on it quaint. But I think that's all we have time for today. This has been the Sonic Movie Show. My name was Ethan. You can follow me on Twitter at Ethan Absolutely. You can follow Devin at Cursona YouTube.
hmm
Links will be in descriptions, or you can always ask in comments. You can find us on YouTube, audio only, or on SoundCloud. If you liked this, give it a little like, ring that bell, subscribe, and whatnot. And tell us what you thought of Detective Pikachu if you saw it. I'm sure if you've seen it by now, if you've been listening this past 3 hours, let us know what you think. Next episode, we're going to talk about Sonic's design, which I'm sure is going to be an exciting thing everyone loves to talk about. And yeah, thanks for listening.
See y'all later.
Adios.